Hello and welcome to another edition of OnPrem Pros. I'm joined by Ryan Brown with xByte Cloud, part of the xByte family, and with me I have Josh Moss, solution architect with xByte Technologies, and Tyler Young, solution architect with xByte Technologies. Welcome, guys. And this week we are talking about a kind of a follow-up from last week, a PowerStore implementation, and then also Tyler is going to talk to us about a new customer who really needed a lot of help just getting started, kind of took over and didn't know even what they had. And so we helped them through this whole process. So Josh, let's start with you. Josh, if anyone didn't watch last week's video, we'll include notes for that. You can or link to it in the notes. You can kind of click on that and see the whole backstory about this customer and how they made their decision on PowerStore. But it was great because xByte was out there. We talked to the customer. We got them to the right solution. And then, Josh, you were the one who actually went on site. I think it was 2 weeks ago or last week, 2 weeks ago. You went out there and you deployed PowerStore. So can you tell us, did it go well? Hopefully it did, or you would have told me not to bring it up. But did it go well? and then what were the benefits of them using xByte to actually do that co-deploy with Dell?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the deployment went well. Good opportunity to get some face time with customers. It's always nice putting, faces to voices that we usually hear on Teams. So yeah, it went well overall. Also getting to see a customer's environment helps, get an actual image of what they're doing, how their setup looks like, and it just allows us to better serve them again in the future. And then as far as the benefit of xByte doing the co-deployment itself is that from the beginning all the way to the end, Tyler and I we're intimately involved with the process. So we already have all the necessary background details to help with sizing, making sure that what we are receiving is what we actually need on site, so that way there's no hiccups. So yeah, that's definitely the main benefit is having that continuity and that presence throughout the entire sales cycle all the way through the deployment.
And we've talked about this before in another video where with us doing it, I mean, all that learning's already happened. You guys know you're not having to dot all your I's and cross all your T's because we've spent hours doing that in the investigation and into right sizing the equipment. So it's great to kind of have us out there and with all that knowledge, it really saves the customer time during that deployment. They don't have to kind of rehash all that kind of stuff. And then another thing we talked about, I know in another video, and again, we'll provide links to this, to the other video we did on the whole deployment process, but in general, okay, yes, it's great having xByte come out there, but why not just have xByte go out there on our own? Why have it even connected to Dell's deployment services?
Yeah, the main benefit is it's backed by Dell. So everything goes through Dell. We follow Dell deployment standards. They're continually improving their processes. But yeah, the main benefit is the fact that it is Dell backed and xByte led.
Okay, yeah, so if the customer has any issues going forward, let's say that VMware releases some update and it interferes with some firmware on the PowerStore device, Dell will be there and support it. So that's great that we're able to help the customer out with all of that. Now, Tyler, we're going to turn it over to you. We got a fun story here. I know
Yeah.
Tyler's excited about this one. We had a customer reach out to us, and they took over from existing person in the company. And they're kind of running the show in the IT now, and they really just need help getting started, as you were explaining it earlier. They didn't even know what they had.
hmm
So can you give us a little bit of background on that early calls with this customer?
Yeah. So like you mentioned, right, the customer came in, recently took over, and in addition to wanting to refresh their server storage infrastructure, right, they wanted to kind of get an overall understanding of what they had, not only from a physical inventory standpoint, but also from a licensing standpoint, because they've been a long time VMware customer, and they want to kind of see just the whole layout, both physical and virtual. So we went through. First, we broke out all of the licensing from VMware and other software vendors, and said, all right, these are the machines they're tagged to. This is what's being used, what's not being used. This is what kind of plays well together. What's still supported, what's not. Right, we went through kind of all the ABCs of the licensing piece. And then we went to the hardware piece where we actually collaborated with Dell, and where we pulled a Dell asset report to essentially see everything that that company ever purchased from Dell. And what that allowed us to do was not only see the servers and the storage infrastructure, as well as the what the configurations were of those those architectures or hardware pieces. We also were able to kind of see additional units as well, such as backup appliances, switches, etc., and kind of really inform the customer as to what they have in the environment, and what can still be used, what maybe coming up on expiration, from a warranty standpoint, that either might need to be extended from a warranty point, or also be refreshed with something newer. And we're trying to really just evaluate everything and not only see kind of what needs to be done, but also how we can do this efficiently and maybe even consolidate to save the customer money in the long run.
So it sounds like if other people are listening to this or watching this, and they're coming into a new company they've never been in before, having a partner who has connections with VMware, has connections with Dell, and can get access to all that information can really help out. Because I mean, we circumvented a lot and sped up processes by as you said, looking at the VMware licenses. I mean, you'd mentioned that they had overpurchased. At least you mentioned to me earlier, they'd overpurchased their licenses because they had essentials and they didn't need it. They already had standard going. Had asked us about some backup devices, and then when we did our cataloging of the Dell inventory, you saw they had Dell's Power Protect, so they had that already built in. So working with a partner who has access to all these companies really helped this customer, because we were able to eventually. I mean, it sounds like we're going to save them a lot because they have stuff, and they're. This is one of my favorite expressions. It was Dorothy. They had the ruby slippers all along.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one big kind of key thing you kind of said there that just needs to be highlighted is it's not only important to find somebody who has the resources available to make all this happen, not just with software vendors, but with Dell as well, but also who understands everything enough to not just say, hey, this is what you have and figure it out, but to actually go the next step and, hey, this is what you're doing that is the right way, but this is also what's being done that's inefficiently, or that doesn't really make sense, where we can maybe save you guys some money, or why are you guys doing this, right? Like, for instance, like you mentioned, where they had standard all for all the years, and then for for a couple new servers they bought, they were sold essentials kit instead, which, as we all know, is kind of like a little island of VMware where it doesn't play well with the other standard licenses, right? Because it's kind of siloed off. So right, so if they knew that at that point, then they would have the right infrastructure in place. So again, it just helps to have somebody kind of you're working with, who understands everything as well, and who's looking out for your best interest as the customer.
All right, so these companies who are out there who are watching this, they're new, they're just getting started, and we said, hey, the first thing you do is you contact a partner, someone like xByte, and we can reach out to people via, in this case, VMware, Dell, and we were able to get a catalog of everything that they had, and we reviewed that with the customer. And then next step is that doing something like a live optics to get an idea of what's actually running? Is that what they should do next?
Yeah, I always recommend live optics. I mean, it's funny because our sales team laughs at me behind the scenes, because it's just something that I push so
not
heavily,
behind. I mean, they right openly.
right to my face to the customer. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, just a perfect example. And this customer, just so funny enough, did run live optics, because again, right, not only does it tell us from a performance standpoint of what everything's doing, latency, IOPS, disk throughput, etc., but it also gives you an inventory and gives customers inventory as to what's happening. Hey, what are the service tags, whether it's Dell, HP, Lenovo, right? It gives them the service tags and model numbers of that hardware. Also gives them what licenses, or not what license, I'm sorry, but what software hypervisor or OSs are installed, and also too, just gives them a full understanding as to what's happening from an inventory perspective. And for some of the customers out there who maybe have had executives kind of question, hey, do we want to stick with on-prem resources and on-prem personnel, or go to the public cloud? Live optics also takes that to a whole another step as well, where it utilizes the APIs from Azure, ACP, and GCP, being a Google Cloud, where it runs that live optics workload through those APIs to give you estimated pricing on how much it costs to run that workload in the cloud. So we've had several customers who are like, hey, this project's going to be canceled, and it looks like the on-site on-prem personnel is going to be getting laid off and go to the cloud. They ran live optics, saw how expensive it actually was to switch to the cloud, and essentially ended up staying on premises and whatnot. So again, very, very unique tool overall.
Yeah, it's a great tool out there to kind of, and if you're not familiar with it, we've also done videos about live optics in the past, so we'll give notes for all these to have you check that out. So the customer, this customer, again, this is typical for anyone who's taking over for a company, where they take inventory, then run some analysis to kind of see, okay, hey, how's everything performing? What am I not using? What am I overutilized on? To kind of make a decision. Okay, what are we going to refresh? What's next phases? And so we gave recommendations for the hardware side of things. And so for a company also, this guy kind of knows the basics of the help desk and some server troubleshooting. But if you're just kind of taking over something, then do you just want to be kind of left alone, or were we able to recommend anything for this customer for an ongoing basis to kind of help them out for the next couple of years, to kind of be that continued partner for him?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were definitely able to kind of make some recommendations, and we're still kind of evaluating everything as well, because not only did we identify different, appliances that are in place today, but that also kind of, the customer has to also identify them physically and say, okay, are they actually being used today? Where are they being deployed at? Whether it's, in Office 1, or Data Center 1, 2, etc. So they have to kind of locate that as well. But yeah, so after we kind of get everything situated, that's where we're definitely going to, get back with the customer and make that game plan as to, okay, this is what we recommend based on what you're looking to do, and how we can kind of be more efficient with everything.
And I know you mentioned to me also that on an ongoing basis, they're looking to get someone to handle like their L3 support.
Yep.
Because they're in it, they know the basics,
Mm-hmm.
but they wanted to know, hey, I just need somebody to be there 24/7.
Yep.
And that's something that xByte, through the xByte family, our solutions team, that they can handle, where they provide that staff augmentation is one of those buzzwords out there.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the concerns was, they want to work with an MSP, or, to essentially get these, to get some of those benefits, but they don't want, their needs don't typically fit into that ordinary a single package, right? They don't want to just do the whole package. They want a couple features, and that's it. And that's where we were kind of highlight our flexibility with that, where, hey, we're not just selling you their package, A, B, or C, right? If you only want a couple features out of package A, and that's it, right? We can, make a custom package for you, and, essentially. So we're not just saying, hey, you fit into this mold, right? We're really making sure that we're listening to what your expectations are and what your needs are out of an MSP, and we're making that work for you, rather than just saying, hey, either you get this lower tier package or the higher tier, right? That's not how we work, and that was something that the customer really appreciated, that we were able to be that flexible and work with them in that way.
Nice. And I know we've talked about this, and again, I keep mentioning some older videos, but we have a lot of great content out there. So please check it out if you're listening to this and watching this. But we've talked about live optics before being kind of that report card that you can send up to your boss, and something you should be running. So
Mm-hmm.
even ongoing, working with a partner like xByte to do that live optics review, to help you make sure that, hey, look, no workloads have changed. I don't need to make any adjustments, or I do need to make adjustments, and let me be proactive with that. And if I know that a new project's coming down the road, and I'm already taxed because I ran live optics, I know that I'm going to need to kind of make sure that I'm upgrading now to be ready for that new project or that new initiative coming through.
Yeah, and it's a free tool, so it's not like we're trying to just sell you a service or anything like that, right? So it's a completely free tool, no strings attached, and that's something you mentioned, the report card to send up to the execs. That's something where there's an easy export button where it literally will take that entire, report, and it'll make it a PowerPoint export for you. That, honestly, it does make everything more simplified to understand as well. So that way, the executives who may not be as technical as what you or your team is, from an IT standpoint, right? It really does kind of, just again, make it more easily to understand for executives. So.
All right, Tyler, thank you very much. And guys, some great information for companies as they listen to this and watch this, to understand, hey, if you're looking to do the big stuff, the PowerStore is out there. why you should go with a company who handles everything from start to finish, and why you should go with Dell for that deployment services. And then if you're someone who's just kind of taken over, we walked you through, hey, what should you do first? First, you should figure out what you have, and so figuring out that catalog of products, and then you should say, okay, hey, how's it running? So run live optics, and then how am I gonna work moving forward? So do I need someone to provide that assistance for me, that support? Do I need to be running live optics again to check my workloads, and that kind of just again, it's not just the single sale. When we look at customers, it's their whole life with us, and how we can make them just better operate as a company. So guys, thank you very much for joining us. Another edition of OnPrem Pros. Check out the videos. We'll link in the notes. And guys, Josh, Tyler, thank you guys very much. And I'm sure we will talk again soon.
Thanks,
Bye,
gentlemen.
everybody.
Thank you.